read. Chains of Nurture is the debut novel from author Max Watson. And if you haven't guessed from that intro a little bit, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this book. Not in a is it good or it's bad sort of way, but in a how did this actually make me feel sort of way. And it's definitely that sort of book. But let's back up a little bit. What is Chains of Nurture actually about? Well, it is about this boy Damien who's abused as a child. He gets the stepsister Raina, and it shows them growing up together and then them living out their lives as emotionally shattered adults who are in love with each other but can't really find the right way to express this. To go any farther than that into the plot would delve heavily into spoiler territory, which I'm not going to get into. So, with that said, I think it's best that we talk about these characters. What can I say? Damien, once he's an adult, is creepy as fuck. As a kid, he's just this super tragic figure. You know, he's abused his entire childhood, and for actually pretty much the entirety of his teenage years too, up until him and Raina leave. And his infatuation and obsession with Raina makes him super creepy and really weird, but he's also, I don't really want to say he's sympathetic, but he is kind of in a way. Like, it's weird in that sort of way. And Raina's not really any different. Like, there's a lot of times where I thought, okay, Raina's moving forward, she's moving on, she's gonna just do her thing, and it completely comes crashing down, but holy crap, it just wow with Raina. I can't talk about Raina without spoilers, because that's almost an impossibility, because everything that this book hinges on is around Raina. She is the central point of this book. She might not be the main character like Damien is, or at least not as central of a main character as he is, but she is that pinpoint that the entire book revolves around. And it's fascinating, but at the same time, yeah, it gets really hard to get into these characters because very few of them actually act like a rational human being. And a lot of that does have to do with the sake that they are, victims of child abuse all through growing up. Like, Raina didn't get the brunt, like the vast majority of it. She definitely didn't get any of the real physical aspects of it. But psychological trauma is still a very real thing, and it's something that is somewhat explored in this. I'm not going to say, like, this is the sort of book where, that's very, very, like, it delves really deep into a person's psyche, because that's very much not the case. This is the sort of book where you definitely see what happens when psychological trauma is not dealt with in the right way. And it's not glorified, it's not romanticized in any sort of real way. Like, these characters are very much in love with each other, but it's not romanticized. It's, at least not in the way of the narrative. If that makes any real sense at all. But yeah, like... Actually, let's talk about the writing for a second. The writing in this book is absolutely flawless. It is beautiful all the way through. It is just fantastic. There was at no point where I was particularly lost, and whenever I did have a question as to what the hell just happened, it went on to explain a little later, and usually not too far later in the book either. Like, it's usually fairly prompt. It might take a couple chapters to get around to it, but it will explain it, which is great. But along with the writing comes a certain feel, and the feel is definitely the major point of this book, because I'm not gonna lie, about at the end of the second chapter, I damn near put this book down. I almost emailed the author and was like, look, I'm gonna send you this book back. I can't read this, Because that second chapter, it hits you right square in the gut, it hits you right square in the nose, and it doesn't stop. It's not pleasant. It really doesn't stop. And the book itself doesn't really stop for quite some time in just the horror and degradation that these kids have to go through. And that makes it very hard to read. But I kept going. I didn't want to just give up that easy. So I kept going. And I am so happy I did. I cannot express just how happy I am that I kept going with this book. Because, yeah, Damien and Raina are absolutely creepy and kind of terrifying in an obsession, in their obsessions. Yeah, the plot is really weird, and it's one of those books that you definitely have to read it to believe it. Yeah, it's definitely got some weirdness to it. But all in all, this book is absolutely fantastic. This one is absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend this. Well, okay, there are some stipulations in terms of my recommendation with this book. If you are a person who reads just for a good time, this is not a book for you. If you are a person with a fairly weak constitution when it comes to graphic scenes or the sorts of things that would make normal people go, ugh, this is not the book for you. If you are the sort of person who cannot take emotional, psychological, or physical trauma, this is not the book for you. If you cannot handle sexual trauma in a book, this is not the book for you. This book is harsh, it is dark, it is mean, and I loved it. Not for those reasons, but for how it made me feel. Like, there are a lot of books that I genuinely love. There are a lot of books that, there's actually, strangely, a lot of books that I gave a 10 out of 10 to this year. This book gets a 10 out of 10, but not for the same reasons. This book gave a 10 out of 10 because it completely came out of nowhere. I almost put it down. The feelings just hit me harder and harder with every time, like with every new page, with every chapter, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And can't stop thinking about it like, say, The Savior's Champion, where I was just utterly frustrated with the narrative. I was utterly frustrated with the characters. No, with this one, while being completely frustrated with the characters and going, oh, for fuck's sake, just talk to each other, it makes sense that they didn't. Because that's just not who they are. They're both very introverted people. They're very introspective. They're very quiet people. So they're not likely to go out and just express their feelings until everything hits an absolute high. Until everything, well, not even a high, like an absolute low. Until they look like they're about to lose everything and they have nothing out, they have no other recourse. That is what they've got. And the feelings that I got from this book. This is not a book for everybody. But if you are the sort of person who can handle deep themes, if you're the sort of person who can handle darker scenes, darker images, then I cannot recommend this book enough. Like, it is absolutely fantastic. It is so well written. Pick this one up. You will not be sorry. Alright, that is the review. Like I said, it's a 10 out of 10. That said, I know I kind of did things a little differently with this review, and I kind of like doing it this way instead. Just kind of taking it off the top, doing everything, like just saying what I want to say about it without trying to cut it off into cut it up into little bits and pieces. You know, talk about the writing and then talk about this and then talk about that, and it's like, no, I just want to talk about it. I kind of like doing it this way. Let me know what you guys think. Oh, and also, if you really want to support me more, I have a second channel. Link down in the description for Writing with Quinn Buckland. Because for those who don't know, I myself am an author. I have 3 books out. One is currently still being queried out to publishers. Like, it was previously self-published, but it's being queried out. Probably going to change that somewhat soon. Probably just going to go back to keeping it self-published, but that's neither here nor there. I'll come come to that decision later. But for right now, check me out down below. Check out my videos, the link is down below. I realize how that sounds.